What's going on, everybody?
What up, what up, what up?
How's everybody doing? Welcome to LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. I'm Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
You know what? Let's bring Facebook in on here. Let's see.
What up, Facebook?
What's going on, Facebook? How's everybody doing?
Nice for y'all to join us tonight.
Another episode of LTMB Live on Thursday.
Yeah.
Wait for some people to filter on in. Fill some spots if everybody could. You know, you could like the video, share the video, and please, while the video is going on,
let us know like how it sounds.
Yeah, and feel free to comment. You know, we also have the call-in feature. It's 803. I thought I could do it. But I think it's 450. I think I'm
0468.
Nah, 0698. Yeah, 803-450-0698.
Yeah, we got just some funny stuff going on.
Oh yeah, man. Well, all of this is funny.
We got a lot to pack into this show.
Yeah, we do.
We got a lot more so than normal. It's like a ravioli show. We got a lot to just pack in there.
Yeah, it's like a jam-packed sandwich. Yeah. What's up, Mary?
We got a calzone of a show coming up.
Yeah. Lulu, what's going on?
Yeah.
How's everybody doing? Everybody can hear us?
Yeah, let us know because
okay before we start.
Yeah, because the last live show was the after show. We had sound for 14 minutes, and all of a sudden Facebook cut the sound for no reason. So we got to keep an eye on that. We hope y'all can help us with that too.
All right.
Because we have no producer. No producer.
All right, you know what? All right, here we go. All right, let's make sure. Let's get some confirmation. Okay,
you sound fine.
Thank you, Lulu.
Thank you.
All right.
How about how we look fine too? You look fine. You look fine too.
Terror break saying audio loud and clear. All right. Let me just, you know what? Let me share this on Facebook real quick. All right.
Thank you.
She said we look good.
Yeah,
right,
dudes.
I'm wearing some purple today. You know, I don't usually wear purple. I'm just saying. I don't usually wear purple, but I thought, hey, why not? Looks all right.
That's that pimp color. Well, no, it'd be pimp color if it was like
that 70s pimp.
Yeah, no, if it would be bright. It would be bright. It was bright purple now.
Yeah, but nah, I can't. Yeah, I can't really do bright.
You got that royal color, man.
Yeah, I got my colors are usually dark, man. Sometimes I do it like a light blue. Maybe.
You know what? I've never been a I'm more like a neutral tone.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's blue, it's gonna be like a dark blue or to a light blue. I don't do like bright neon stuff. I never did that.
Yeah, I can't.
But plus I got the wrong skin tone for it in the first place.
I can't do pink. I can't do pink, man. Can you do pink?
Never in my life have I done pink. Some dudes could wear it, and I usually like when I see dudes wear it, I'm like, yo, you doing it up. I was like, cause I can't do it. I usually get problems with dudes. Like I will stop a dude and was like, man, I can't do that. I was like, I can't do it like that. But that's just I can't do pink like that.
Yeah, I can't. All right, let's get to the show. I think everything's working fine. We good on the technical aspects. Everything's good. All right, let's go. All right, so on the last show, we spoke a little bit, I believe towards the end, about Senator Jeff Flake. And he had made some comments on the Senate floor, of course, about Donald Trump. I don't believe he called him by name, but of course, everybody knew what he was talking about. And he was just lamenting the fact that politics is nasty and Trump-era politics is nasty, and that he's getting up out of the game. He doesn't want to be a senator anymore, and I guess it's because he just doesn't want to be a part of this nastiness. It's just too much of a hostile environment, and he can better serve. I think he said he can better serve the interests of the American people outside of Congress. So we hadn't seen his comments, we hadn't read his comments until after the show, and I read them. I saw some of it, and I said on the show before I had seen him that I probably was not going to be impressed, and I was absolutely correct. I was not impressed one iota.
Well, there are a lot of people who are, a lot of media personalities who are calling him a hero.
Oh yeah,
he's a hero.
Yeah, he's being paraded around now like
he's the most virtuous person in the world. He's a stand-up guy. But see, the thing is, it's easy to be a stand-up guy, you know, based on who you're talking about. It's like, it's just one, in my opinion, it's just one horrible character trying to raise himself up on the back of another horrible character.
Yeah. So he's putting himself on the other side of somebody like Donald Trump, and he's supposed to be like a good guy.
Good guy. It's almost like the same thing people have done with George Bush.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden he's rational now. Like we forget all the stuff he did because he comes like he's like talking against Trump.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And see, most of this stuff is just speaking against Trump's behavior. His language, the way he comes across on certain things. Not exactly what Trump wants to do, not policy, just the way he comes across. You know, that's what people have a problem with.
This is political capitalism. It's political capitalism. They're using like Trump as a proxy or an opportunity to like I guess increase their brand, to make themselves look like they're reasonable. I just think it's all self-serving, especially with Flake, because let's not act like his career is over once he leaves. Just because he's not running doesn't mean his career is over.
True.
What do most of them do after they leave, you know, their Senate seat? What do? They go lobby.
Yes.
That's all he's trying to do is increase his brand.
Yeah, they get hundreds of $1,000 a year salaries, $1 million a year salaries, and they lobby.
So yeah, it's
still engaged in politics.
It's just like it just felt like a very like fake virtuosity. You know what I'm saying?
Ho hum.
Told you about. So you know, you did that on purpose.
Yeah, I did. Just to elicit a response from you. Yeah.
See, he did that before the show, right? And I'm like, who says that? I was like, I've never heard ho hum. I mean, I've heard it like maybe in a movie, a TV show. I've never heard anybody use that like as a response or a sentence.
I don't think I've ever used that in my life.
I was like, yo,
not one.
You better not do that on the show, dog. And he did.
Ho hum.
And he articulated it with his lips. He's like, ho hum.
Ho hum. That's what I think of his little his little performance he did on the Senate floor. But again, okay, so let's talk about who this guy actually is, because if he is this hero, if he's the stand-up guy that's putting himself on the other side of Donald Trump, okay, let's talk about why he did some of the things he's done in his career. So this is the same guy that voted for the Iraq War when he was in the House of Representatives. Okay, this is the same guy that voted against the Manchin-Toomey amendment. Now that amendment would have implemented background checks for private gun sales. He voted against it. I guess because he's a strong conservative that, you know, wants to protect the Second Amendment.
You know how that makes sense, because he was a darling of the Heritage Foundation.
Oh,
a darling.
What else did he do? Yeah, he voted many times against disaster relief funding, and specifically disaster relief funding as it concerns Hurricane Katrina. Good guy, right? What else? Oh yeah, this is a big one. You remember some time ago, recent history, where there was legislation that actually passed that ISPs, internet service providers, could now sell your browsing history without your consent. He was the senator that proposed that legislation.
So he wasn't just he didn't co-sign. He wasn't a co-sponsor. He like brought it forth.
He brought it forth. He proposed the legislation.
What about healthcare?
Healthcare. Just in 2017 alone, he voted 3 times to repeal Obamacare, and it would have been 4 times had the Graham Cassidy bill been brought up and voted on.
So what you're telling me is, as he's speaking against Trump, he's co-signed on all of his policies.
Pretty much.
So what is this really about? Oh yeah, one other big thing is that he lobbied in favor of apartheid South Africa. So all of this like kind of Trump bashing means
nothing, man. Nothing. This is not a good guy. Not a good guy at all. He, like I said, he's standing up there with this performance, this political theater,
chest of steel. Chest of steel poked out when it's really just aluminum foil.
I'm an honorable guy.
And it's empty too. It's a big chest, but it's just full of straw.
But anyway, so he's going to be leaving the Senate. 2019 is when he's going to leave. So let's talk about who could replace him. Now, there's one, I guess you can say, a prominent candidate who's gotten the backing of a lot of Republicans. A lot of there's some super PACs. There's some billionaires that are supporting her as well. Her name is Kelly Ward. She's running for Senate. Now, she did run for Senate before. She ran for John McCain's seat, but she lost. Now, Kelly Ward, she's an osteopathic physician who formerly supported abortion rights, but she changed her tune in 2012. Now, something interesting happened in 2012, and that interesting thing that happened was that she ran for state Senate in Arizona.
Oh, Arizona. It's a, conservative state. It's a red state.
Oh. So, you're saying, what are you saying? You saying that she changed?
I'm unofficially saying she changed her position to run for Senate.
Oh, so it wasn't convenient. I mean, it was convenient. But it wasn't
really standing on her principles.
She just changed her position because of politics now. Okay. All right. That sounds about right. What else? About abortion, in 2012, she said this. She said, this is her quote: "My preference would be that a patient and a doctor talk to each other about the risks, the benefits, what is the potential outcome for the mother, should she choose to have a procedure like that, instead of having the government trying to make those decisions."
Wait. Read that last part again.
Instead of having the government trying to make those decisions. She wants that to be a decision made between the patient, her family, and the doctor, instead of the government.
Well, since when does just merely allowing abortions mean that women have to get them? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
it's an option.
It's an option. Just having the option for abortion doesn't equate to the government deciding that you get one.
Yeah,
in actuality,
you're pregnant, you have to get an abortion now.
Nobody says that. And actually, it's the other way around that doesn't. I guess it's the other side of the argument that is trying to force an option onto women.
Right.
And that's the politicians trying to outlaw abortion and force the government to punish and or prohibit it.
So they're
the ones trying
injecting
to
government
to force
into that conversation
a decision. Yeah.
When does the government? Where is the government in this conversation about abortion? The government.
You got to understand where
making people get abortions.
They're thinking it's coming from, though. Understand where they're thinking it's coming from, because it's the same thing with same-sex marriage. Simply like allowing for it. Simply the government allowing same-sex marriage means people got to get married to somebody from the same sex. That's what it means to them. You know what I'm saying? They think it's like actually affecting their life because it's actually an option available. Not because it actually controls people. It gives people the option
to control
their own lives. You see how they flip that?
Illogical. She also believes in defunding Planned Parenthood. And she said that they sell dismembered baby body parts, which is a damn lie.
It's already been proven that was a lie.
But she's still on this. All right. Also, so this is a Trump Republican. She's a Trump Republican who believes in building that wall along the southern border. She was supportive of Trump's pardon of the criminal Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I had to put the criminal in there because he's a criminal. What else? This is interesting. You remember how I said that she ran for Senate before? She ran for John McCain's spot, but she lost. Well, during that time, during the campaign, she appeared on Alex Jones's show, and among other things, they discussed the possibility that John McCain was trying to kill her because she was running for his Senate spot.
wait a second. I'm like, does John McCain have a history of just offing his competition like that?
I don't think so. Like, do we have any record, anything to sustain that?
Somebody that like at least
back that up,
like fainted, passed out, like just fell down some steps, like suspiciously. Anything?
I believe they were talking about like a possible bomb in her car. Now, Alex Jones is the one that brought this up, but it wasn't like she was like, oh, "Come on, man, don't be silly. I'm running for Senate here, man. We can't be having this ridiculous conversation." No, she was like, "Yeah, I hope it hasn't gotten that bad, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna be careful."
Like this, like I'm looking for anything. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt for anything. Like, did somebody like start sneezing in front of John McCain? Like anything that just looked out of the ordinary.
I don't think so. But anyway, yeah, if Jeff Flake was such this honorable guy, you know what? I'm not even gonna say if he was this honorable guy. There's not a lot of room. There's not a lot of distance between Flake and this woman, Kelly Ward. There's not a lot of room between them. They're basically the same. But she's a Trump Republican though, and I guess he's not a Trump Republican. Because he's on the
so
other
basically
side.
You're saying like the difference in what can be classified as a Trump Republican is just mere rhetoric or style and not in actual substance.
Yeah, not in policy, just in style. Yeah, we'll leave that there. Also, President Donald Trump's approval rating. Now, we've talked about how it's been taking hits along the way. He's only been president for what, 9 full months or so. And he's been taking hits. Usually it's about 40%, maybe a little bit below 40%. There's a new Fox News poll that now has him at an all-time low for this year. They have him now at 38%. A Fox News poll has him at 38%, like I said, which is an all-time low for him. His approval rating dropped 4 percentage points from September, from the September month, which was a full 10 points since the first poll in February. And his his disapproval rating is at 57%, which is a new high now for him. So like I said, this is a Fox News poll, man. We know that the audience in Fox News is like
typically
Republican, conservative.
It's typically on the side of Trump.
Yeah, it would be his group of people. But they're like, nah. Now, just among Republicans, as this poll indicates, 83% of them still are in favor of him, still supportive of him. So it's still a high number of Republicans. But the independents, I think it's about 30%. Yeah, the poll indicated that 30% of them have an approval rating for him, or that's where his approval rating is for independents. And for Democrats, it's at 10%. So, as we said, man, it looks like this is a constant, you know, as time goes by. His approval rating just gets worse and worse and worse. And it's, like I said, it's not just among independents and, Democrats. Among those Republicans, too, it's steadily going down. 83% is still pretty strong, but like I said, it's trickling down a little bit. So it's something to be watchful of and see. Like I said, this is only the first year. So maybe he changes that, but I wouldn't bet on it. Oh yeah, in other news, Chief of Staff John Kelly still hasn't apologized. Still hasn't apologized to Congresswoman Frederica Wilson because we talked about it a little bit on the last show. His blatant lie that he told about Frederica Wilson.
Yeah, and then he still hasn't responded even after footage of the speech he was referencing came out and showed that he was telling a big fat fib.
A big fat fib. He called her empty barrel.
Empty barrel. Actually, he called her empty barrel and didn't really even have enough respect to say her by name and just kept calling her that woman. Right. Now, I'm fine if you have a disagreement with somebody, but it's a mere disagreement about language that was used by President Trump. Like that's really all the disagreement was about. What was the point of him going out of his way and trying to defame her character like that? It was just a disagreement about how Trump spoke about her son. I mean, not her son, but someone she mentored.
Right.
And went through her mentoring program and was a friend of the family. That's all it was about.
But
like, what's the point of going, like,
you know what the point is, man? The illogical defense of Donald Trump.
Yeah, you did ask that question before. Like, can you efficiently defend Donald Trump? And it's impossible.
That's an impossible task to do. So you got to kind of redirect the conversation, bring up something else, and try to hit her character. But the problem with this example is that there was video footage that displayed how much of an ass you were and how much of a liar you were.
And I think a reporter during one of the White House press conferences asked Sarah Huckabee Sanders about that. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I don't recall the reporter asking him about that. I only recall a reporter asking her about that. You know what I'm saying?
And she defended him. And actually, you know, because it went back and forth for a little while between her and the reporter. And he was adamant. He was like, no, the video showed he was lying. And at one point she said something like, she's like, well, if you want to get into a debate with John Kelly,
four-star general,
she thinks that would be highly
inappropriate
to, I guess,
like, that doesn't answer the question.
Criticize a 4-star general
and impugn what you say?
Impugn his credibility.
I was like, wait. This reporter asked you a question about an inconsistency in Kelly's statement.
Right.
Not just inconsistency, proof that he was lying.
Right.
Like, her answer to that is, well, don't question the integrity.
Don't question him. Yeah. So she's pretty much set up a situation where this dude has the status of he's an elite. He's an elite individual. You're a nobody. You're a nothing. So you can't try to impugn his credibility. You can't dare to criticize him.
He did that himself.
4-star general.
He did that himself.
He did impugn his own credibility because there's video evidence that everybody was able to see that showed that he was obviously a liar.
What else did she say? She said something about the footage, right? Like, about the footage that came forth or that showed Wilson.
Oh yeah. So yeah, she said again, the illogical, these are the illogical displays of defense. That's what they have to resort to. So this reporter was talking about the video evidence showed that General John Kelly was lying. She was like, well, no, I still stand behind him, and he still stands behind his statement because there was other stuff that wasn't captured on video. And that's what proves that, he was correct. But Kelly was talking about the speech, was he not? And the speech was captured on video. And we saw all of her speech on video. And there were numerous lies that he told about that video.
So when the facts don't line up with the direction of her illogical defense, she has to create some hypothetical scenario that may or may not exist.
may or may not exist. No video evidence of this evidence that you're pointing to, but the video evidence that we got. Oh no, you don't gotta look there because we were talking about something else. Even though John Kelly was talking about exactly video.
Her non-evidence trumps actual evidence. Her non-evidence trumps evidence.
Ridiculous. Also, we didn't talk about. I was going
to chop her in her throat, dog. I swear to God, I'm sorry. Go ahead, dog.
All right. So we didn't actually. We talked about the situation in Niger, about how the 4 Green Berets had been killed, but we didn't talk about why they were in Niger. So a reporter had asked General John Kelly about this. Why were we in Niger? Why are we still in Niger? And his response was absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Not only was it absurd, but he tap danced. He tap danced around. He didn't give a direct answer. He was like tap dancing. He was playing hide and seek.
Yeah. First of all, he began with, well, there's an investigation underway. We don't need an investigation for you to tell us why we're in Niger. Like, and somebody should know why American troops are in Niger.
The question wasn't about like the incident itself. It was about why we're in Niger. Usually, what does that mean? Usually, like if someone asks you a question, or like say your parents ask you a question about, hey man, where you been at? You late?
Well, there's an investigation underway. I get back to you on that. You know what I'm saying? That would be crazy. That wouldn't be acceptable.
Well, his answer was like, why we were in Niger. He started talking about, well, we have soldiers everywhere. Yeah. We have soldiers here, there.
And he detailed the reasons why they're there.
They're there.
But they didn't ask you why soldiers are other places around the globe.
But he did.
You were asked about Niger.
No, he did later say something about training the soldiers in Niger how to fight ISIS and some other things.
Now, see, okay, so that's something that we can grab hold on to. That's something that we can actually. That's meat, right? We can chomp on that a little bit. Now, our soldiers were there fighting, or no, our soldiers were there training their soldiers on how to fight ISIS. Now there's a question that comes up immediately.
They're not supposed to be. They weren't supposed to be involved in combat, though. That's one of the things.
Okay, yeah, but a question still comes up. Is ISIS there?
I know they Boko Haram is there.
Boko Haram is there. They're like
I think they said Al
Qaeda
is there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they just didn't say anything about it. I wouldn't know where the ISIS was there.
I've heard that there's like a arm of, I think, Boko Haram, like it was like a tangent or something like that might have broken off, and they're linked to ISIS. But as far as I can tell, there's no evidence that they were in Niger. There's no evidence of that. So the only evidence that the only thing that I'm reading about ISIS and Niger is this incident now, and how through the American press now it's reported that they're linking this attack to ISIS. But again, nothing before that suggested that ISIS was there.
Look, I think that the operation is connected to, I guess, what is it called, like AFRICOM? It's something. It's AFRICOM. It's like a. I guess it's some sort of strategy to, I guess, stabilize different regions in Africa. But from what I read, the base of AFRICOM is not even in Africa. It's like in Germany or something. But it's effort to stabilize, like, I guess 20 different African countries. First of all, I don't ever trust that, because when we go in to stabilize something, it usually becomes destabilized. And I'm like, ask Chile about that. Ask Chile.
So yeah, investigation's underway, but if the narrative right now is being thrown out there that it's ISIS, when, like I said, at least I haven't seen anything saying that ISIS was there beforehand. Congress didn't approve these troops being in that area. I don't know, man. There's a lot of questions surrounding.
Yeah, there's not just
them just being there, and this attack,
and the attack, because apparently that he got separated.
Yeah, he did.
From the rest of his men,
from the rest
of his comrades.
Like an hour later. Like
yeah, so there's a lot of questions, that need to be answered about that specific situation that don't make sense either. So apparently, I guess the level of intelligence that was being used at the time wasn't up to code, I guess. But who knows? I don't know.
Maybe we'll find out some more. Like I said, as the investigation unfolds. Mark Halperin. Mark Halperin is in the news. Mark Halperin is a contributor on NBC News, MSNBC. He's on Morning Joe many times. He's a frequent contributor on Morning Joe. And it has been revealed that Mark Halperin has sexually harassed and sexually assaulted a number of women. So there were 5 women who shared their stories with CNN about their encounters with Mark Halperin while he was at ABC News. And he had a high profile position at ABC News. He was somebody with some power. And like I said, they have detailed that he sexually harassed and sexually assaulted them. Now, before I read the actual details about what they were saying, I saw his comment. So this is what he had to say. He put out a statement, and he said, during this period, I did pursue relationships with women that I worked with, including some junior to me. I now understand from these accounts that my behavior was inappropriate and caused others pain. For that, I am deeply sorry and I apologize. Under the circumstances, I'm going to take a step back from my day-to-day work while I properly deal with this situation.
Well, I mean, from the sound of that statement, I get the impression that it was more about he was trying to like date people within his workplace.
Yeah,
he was maybe coming on too strong.
Right?
Yeah, he was return up the Mac.
90s word there.
You macking.
Yeah, but he was trying to get a date. You know, that's what he was trying to do. Reading his statement, that's what he was trying to do. And I guess that sometimes he was trying to get that date with people that worked with him that were junior to him, that were in a lower level to him. So, you know, that kind of got me thinking about, you know, what sexual harassment is. And I started thinking, I'm like, okay, so if somebody in a powerful position tries to proposition somebody about, hey, you know, you want to grab a drink sometime, or you want to go to a party, you want to go to a movie with me or something like that, is that sexual harassment? And then I started thinking, I was like, you know what, that really could be, because especially if you're in that position of power, what if that other person does not want to date you?
I do think
but they feel like there might be something like maybe they don't get a promotion, maybe they get fired. There might be some kind of reprisal, and so they don't want to say no. That puts them in a pretty, you know, difficult situation to be in.
I do think the position of the person does matter.
Yeah,
I think it does, because you know, like there's companies where people of the same level interact and they're always hanging out and going out. But there's not this like power dynamic.
Right.
So if you understand yourself to be in a position of power, I think it's not even something that's integral to, I guess, your common sense, but it's something that most corporations, especially the bigger ones, always have policies on.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like how you talk to your subordinates and how you approach them, especially when it comes to interacting with them and fraternization. You know what I'm saying? So,
and even if somebody in that place of power doesn't have nefarious intentions, you know, they don't intend to, I guess, put somebody in a difficult position. They don't want to use their power and influence to, you know, make somebody date them. If there's not their intention, but if they do that, what if the other person doesn't date them, right? But then at a later time, they don't get a promotion. They may feel like, well, that might have played a part in me not getting a promotion.
And that's why
they may make us think about it. Exactly. Now you're in trouble.
Now you're in trouble. And that's why that's exactly why you don't behave like that.
Right.
Even if it's not true that the promotion was denied because of some sort of bitterness, that's one of the reasons why you don't do that.
It can be supposed.
It can be supposed.
Yeah. But what we're talking about is very general and doesn't seem to apply to Mark Halperin. Okay, so like I said, this was before I was just speculating beforehand until I read the details. So the details are pretty disgusting. So these women detailed accounts that range from kissing, inappropriate kissing that was not, I guess, you know, it was unsolicited. They didn't approve of this kissing. Also, he propositioned them for sex. He also rubbed his erect penis on them while at work. Now, of course, when they were clothed at work, but he was erect and he would just come up from behind her or something like that. And one said he rubbed it, or he pressed it on her shoulder.
Wait a second, how short was she?
She was sitting down.
Oh, she was sitting down. I was like, how do you? I was like, you said shoulder. I was like, how do you?
Giant. Yeah.
I was like, you need to jump up there.
Yeah, she was sitting down. Now he denies this. He denies this kissing and these accounts of pressing his erect genitalia on him, on these women. But like I said, that's the details behind these stories. And it seems like it's not just these women too. There was another woman as well. I can't remember her name, but she was actually there's this video going around where she's on Morning Joe talking to him about looks like gun control, like automatic weapons, and he was like trying to play devil's advocate with her, but she said me too, you know, hashtag me too. And she said, yeah, I think she said, although she's not one of the 5, you know, she was one that he, I guess, did something to as well. So right now he's out right now at MSNBC and NBC News. I don't know if fired, but at least, you know, taking a break.
I mean, this is it's sad, but I'm really not surprised. No. I'm not surprised because if you know, these men are in positions of power, and depending on what kind of personality and what kind of character traits they have, you know, when they get in positions of power like this, they think they're untouchable. Yeah, and so they try to use that power like against people. You know, in this case, women. These mugs are bullies, man. No, yeah,
they're straight up bullies. And when you combine that with their need for attention, their need for, you know, the attention from a partner or something like that, they want sex or something, they feel like they can bully their way into that situation. And the sad thing is that a lot of people, for fear of reprisals, won't say anything. They may go a certain length, you know, into this bullying because of that. You know, they're scared. And it's only till later where maybe there's a number of them that come out together where we learn the facts about it. But yeah, it's just a, you know,
seems like these mugs are just like dropping out of the sky.
Yeah, man. It's and I'm glad too. I'm glad these people are being outed, man. And that brings me to another one.
Now this one threw me for a loop, dog. I didn't want to believe this one.
George H.W. Bush. George H.W. Bush, the father of George W. Bush, he's been accused of not sexual harassment, sexual assault. I believe it's 2 women that have stated that he was, you know, groping and rubbing their backsides. I don't know, at events, at picture, you know,
the rump,
man. Yeah, grabbing booties, man. Yeah. And he would tell like a little joke or something like that. I guess like a dirty little joke.
Well, wait. Yeah. He would get in the position to squeeze the cheeks, but then he would joke make a joke as a way to get out of it.
Yeah, to make light of.
But how do you joke your way in and out of that situation?
Well, okay. So he did apologize. I believe he apologized, but then there was also, I don't know if his spokesman or something like that, but they offered an explanation. Now this explanation, okay, so they was like, okay, see what happened was, right? See, Bush is an old man and he's in a wheelchair, right? So that puts him significantly lower in an ascending position to people that are standing, right? So when he puts his arm around people, you know, it's right there, right at, you know, the booty line. So, you know, just to make light of it, he tells a little joke, you know, and Barbara Bush has been there too. I think she's laughed at it. Yeah. But she was like, but then the spokesman was like, yeah, but if he offended anybody, you know, you know, he's sorry about that. Excusing this dirty old man.
See, again, I think that is a problem. That's the secondary problem that people tend to want to like kind of gloss over a bit. It's not just these men and these powerful positions that feel entitled, I guess, to assault people. It's people offering apologies for them. Man. I think that's the most, because he's only one person. Halpern is only one person. Weinstein is only one person. True. Trump is only one person. Clinton was one person. You see what I'm saying? They were very powerful. They were a powerful person. Yeah. But it's like they're
nothing without a community.
They're nothing without a community enabling them. Yeah. And that's and it's like, it's kind of a shame that his spokesperson, like, You know what I'm saying? Spokesperson would try to cover.
Timid, a very like lukewarm apology, like a.
It wasn't even an apology.
Yeah.
To me, it's not even an apology.
It's
more. I felt more justification in it.
Yeah. Like, oh, this is what happened, but if it was bad, he's sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. I mean, it was intentional. It was accompanied, with joking. So it's not bad. Yeah, like as long as
I rub your booty, if I rub your booty, squeeze your cheeks a little bit, but make a joke about it.
If my assault comes with a punchline, then I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Man, like I said, I'm glad these people are being outed, man.
Like, what's next? Mugs dressing up like clowns and just like walking up to chicks. I mean,
and Halperin too. That I forgot one of them. Yeah, he actually grabbed somebody's breast too. Yeah.
I just
unsolicited, just walking, just grabbing people's breasts.
And see again, it's like we could, I guess if we look at it pessimistically, we can say like it's great that these issues are coming forth now. Mm-hmm. The problem is. All these stories are way after the fact.
Yeah, and that's the troublesome aspect when they have done so much dirt.
When they have done so much dirt and so much damage and so many lives have already been affected.
Yeah, it's good that they're being
this
outed
kind of
now, but all the people that they were able to significantly impact, man, that's a damn shame.
Yeah, so it's kind of like this like retroactive vindication or just like a retroactive kind of highlighting of all these situations. I'm just like, first of all, I guarantee you the specific situations that we're talking about or we're referencing, I guarantee you there was a lot more that led up to this.
And like you said too, if it was just them alone, that'd be one thing, but people know about these instances and
they don't
do anything about it. So of course they're emboldened to do exactly what they've been doing, and they don't get caught up with it until much later when they've already impacted so many lives.
See, there is more of an excuse for the individuals that have been violated not to speak up because they're most likely in a position where their careers are feel vulnerable. They feel their careers feel vulnerable. They're in fear, or you know what I'm saying. They're stuck in a spot. Mm-hmm. I don't know about that as far as the parties that are complicit. Like, I don't know if I can have the same sympathy for the people that are complicit in it. Mm-hmm. And to me, you're no better than the men who are participating or in the
if you hush mouth about it, right?
Yeah, because essentially, like I don't know. It just seems like you're saying you're okay with it.
All right, so that's the beginning of the show. Facebook, we gotta go. Appreciate you being here. If you don't mind, there is a link at the top, and that will take you to the stream on YouTube. So come and join us for the rest of the show. We'll be talking about actually the next story that we're going to be talking about is the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and how an important rule was just eliminated by Senate Republicans. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about this heinous assault on a police officer in Oklahoma City.
Yes,
you don't want to miss.
Yeah, you don't want to miss this. This is like he got seriously beat down.
Oh my goodness.
Seriously, but I don't know if we can even show the video.
I know
it's like we might have to put a content warning.
I'm just glad that he got out of there with his life, man. You know what I'm saying?
He was crawling away, man. He was crawling away.
But we're gonna get to that. You don't want to miss that. But yeah, so click that link. You'll be taken to the YouTube stream, and we'll see you there. All right. All right. So yeah, okay, so we're gonna get to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Let me turn this off real quick. All right. Okay, so on previous shows we've talked about Equifax and we've talked about Wells Fargo, and we've talked about them in reference to their dirty behaviors. How Wells Fargo opened up millions of phony accounts and reaped the benefits for it. We've talked about how Equifax lost what, I think it was 143 million American people's their sensitive data. So we've talked about that, and we talked about specifically how Equifax tried to mandate that people would go through arbitration if they wanted to sue them. If they had a gripe, they would have to go through arbitration, and they put like a little clause in there that people weren't aware of. If they signed up for their credit monitoring service, people weren't aware of it, and the former CEO, he apologized. Oh yeah, that wasn't our intent. Yeah, right, whatever. But then they had to put a provision in so that people could get out of that, but only if they wrote a letter. Only if they wrote a letter. But anyway, we don't want to go too far in that. But anyway, we also talked about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, because they had a rule. They implemented a rule, I believe it was in July of this year, that was set to go into effect. And what it would have done was enabled people to band together and form a group so that they can sue these financial companies in a class action lawsuit. Well, Senate Republicans didn't like this idea. They didn't like this idea at all, and they wanted to kill this rule. I can't say it any other way. They wanted to kill this rule. They wanted to eliminate this rule, and just recently they did exactly that. They eliminated the rule that allows people to organize together, to band together, and file class action lawsuits against financial companies, financial organizations. And so it's gone now.
This is something that Trump's Treasury Department is rolling out. This is something that Trump's Treasury Department kind of said they wanted to get rid of. But during the campaign, he said something like, beware of Wall Street. He said, beware of Wall Street, but that was when he was running against Hillary Clinton, who was touted as the queen of Wall Street. Yeah. But now, when the rubber meets the road and it's, his turn, it's his administration, they're rolling out the red carpet for Wall Street.
So, during the campaign trail, who came up with Crooked Hillary? Who came up with that?
Not Donald Trump. I don't think that was Donald Trump, was it?
I think it was Donald Trump.
What?
Yeah. Okay. If my memory serves correct, it was Donald Trump that said Crooked Hillary because of all these shenanigans, because of her dealings with Wall Street and these paid speeches.
And he said he was going to be a champion for Main Street.
But now his administration wants to kill this rule, and like I said, they did. So it was a close vote in the Senate. It was 51-50, with the Vice President Mike Pence casting the final vote and breaking the tie. So again, it is gutted. It's gone. People can't band together and file class action lawsuits against these financial companies. Wells Fargo, Equifax.
Even when, that's the thing. It's like why would you do that if these companies are potentially involved in fraud?
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Like, it just seems like this is another situation where they're incentivizing bad behavior, or they're incentivizing crooked behavior. They're incentivizing these companies to, screw over people. What do you think is going to happen?
But see, this has been going on throughout his administration, his short administration. We've talked about the number of deregulation ideas that they've had, right? This is another idea to deregulate the process. What do you think is going to happen? This is going to be able to, big corporations, financial corporations like this are going to be able to just do horrible things, and consumers are going to do what?
What's the point?
Individually. People are stronger together than individually, but they're going to have to go individually and set up these arbitration meetings. And you really think it's going to be effective?
I mean, in a situation where, there's a deal between, I guess, two equally powerful entities, usually arbitration wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
But, we have corporations who are intentionally setting up situations against regular people. That will undoubtedly end up with them being at the winning end, but being on the winning end. And I think it has a kind of a secondary effect of, I guess, deterring people from challenging certain disputes. Like if people know that they can't even get involved in the class action lawsuit, what is that going to do? That's going to make people a little bit apprehensive about even challenging anything.
Yeah. Even going through with arbitration.
Even going
you're alone.
Because you're alone.
And they can extend that process out, and that's going to be your money. In a class action lawsuit, it's easier for people to band together, because then it's just going to be, a law firm is going to take the brunt of the cost. But if it's just you, it's just going to be your money. Now, when you look at this situation, you have to ask yourself, okay, so who are these Senate Republicans representing? Because the consumers that are being shitted on by these corporations, they're not just progressives or liberals, Democrats,
or Republicans.
Yeah, they can be Republicans, they can be conservatives, the people that the Republicans are supposed to be representing, right? But there's a poll done by American Future Fund, which is a conservative organization. They did a poll about this rule. 64% of Republicans were in support of the regulation that would enable people to file class action lawsuits. 64% of them. So again, like I said, it's not just a certain kind of person with a certain kind of political view that is going to be affected by these companies and their bad behavior. No, it's these other people too that you are supposedly representing. The CFPB director, Richard Cordray, he said in a statement, "The vote is a giant setback for every consumer in this country. Wall Street won and ordinary people lost. This vote means the courtroom doors will remain closed for groups of people seeking justice and relief when they are wronged by a company."
Why is the media at large, like, yeah, these articles are out here, but why is the media, like, at large not covering this, like,
should be front page news,
or I guess like front story news? That should be like a lead-in story.
It should be the lead-in story, because what Senate Republicans effectively did was they said, corporations, you can get over on regular Americans anytime you want to.
Yeah, pretty much that you can disenfranchise the customer.
Yep.
But see, like, it makes sense that it's not being kind of blasted over the media with a foghorn, because
tell us why, Mike.
Because I mean, where's their sponsorship come from? A lot of their sponsorship comes from these financial,
same companies, the same corporations.
A lot of ad dollars and sponsorship.
So it's all about their money.
There's no way they're gonna report. That's like biting the hand that feeds them.
That's exactly like that. And you know what? The situation actually gets worse too, because they were able to do this with a CFPB director that was appointed by Barack Obama. His term is almost up. The political winds are in Wall Street's favor going forward. Cordray's term at the CFPB will end in mid-2018, but he is expected to step down before then to make a run for governor of Ohio. Trump will be able to choose his own appointee and will likely pick someone more likely to favor the banks.
It's like they're setting it up like for another recession. They're like setting it up like really fast for another recession. Mm-hmm. And if you think about, because we always talk about how administration usually, I don't know, the characteristics of it match who is at the head. Mm-hmm. So if you look at who is at the head of this administration and how he engages in his own personal financial dealings, right? Think about what he does. How many times has he filed for bankruptcy?
I think it was 4.
I've heard 6.
Was it 6?
That's what I've heard. So it's between 4 and 6.
So yeah, exactly how is he going to govern, right?
So
how
is he
going to lead?
Exactly. How is he going to lead? So like if how he, I guess the course he takes this country is a direct reflection of him. Mm-hmm. And not just him, but him combined with an already corrupt government, him in conjunction with a government and that has a history of screwing people over. That's a combination for a big disaster.
And this is a businessman. He told everybody he's a businessman.
So he's going to run this like a business.
Yeah, he didn't lose his businessman hat, right? So what is good for the businessman, Donald Trump? Deregulation. That's terrific for the businessman.
Maybe
he's going to do that for all his old cronies too.
And I guess, and specifically talking about him and his situation, maybe he meant that he was going to run this into the ground like his businesses.
Like if they're, like I said, they're able to do this with a Senate that is, the majority is Republicans, but this won't even be an issue if they get one of their own people in at the CFPB. This won't be an issue. There will be because they won't institute any kind of rules like these. It shapes up.
They won't even have any rules to roll back.
Exactly. They're gonna kick them all out the door, erase all of this stuff, man. How much damage can he do, man? You know, how much damage can he do? This is only 9 months. How much more damage can he do? We'll see.
And you know what's so funny? This particular rollback is coming at a very interesting time period. I know that like they have a certain amount of time to roll back any kind of Obama regulations. They have like a certain amount of days. They have like until November something where it's easier to roll back Obama regulations,
because that's all they want to do.
That's all they want to do. So they have, that's why they're stacking all these I guess stacking everything on top of each other. But think about what happens after probably what's coming up next week. What's next week? Halloween.
Yeah.
And then like kind of what's the next thing?
Thanksgiving.
And then what? Christmas. When people do what? Spend a lot of money. They use what? A lot of credit cards. You know what I'm saying? Like they're setting it up, like they're setting it up for it to be really, to get really muddy. You know what I'm saying?
He was gonna drain the swamp. He was gonna drain the swamp.
Maybe he just, well, what he really meant was he was gonna like relocate the swamp.
Because that's what he did.
He didn't really drain anything.
No, he didn't drain
it just
nothing.
Like the pipe that he drained.
He just put a pipe in there.
Put a pipe in there and it just rerouted it. He rerouted the swamp. That's what he did.
If nobody could tell that by his own appointees for his administration and the swamp that he brought into the White House, or actually, they were already there. If nobody could tell by his political appointments, here it is right here. You got bamboozled. What more do you need?
And the thing is and like you said, with this particular consumer protection rollback, it's not like it's going to pick and choose who it affects.
No, it's going to affect Republicans too. It's indiscriminate. It's very indiscriminate. All right. So let's get to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, right? And let's get to this man, this heinous attack. Okay, so on last week Thursday, there was in Oklahoma City, in a neighborhood, a homeowner had called 911. And she called 911 because she had seen a man and a woman on bikes looking into driveways, looking not coming up on property, but just riding the street, I guess, like looking at houses. And this alarmed her. She thought that they may be
staking out places.
Yeah, seeing maybe who was home, who wasn't home, something like that. So she called 911. So that prompted 911 to send a patrol car to the area. And when the patrol car got to the area, an officer by the name of James Herlihy, I believe, Officer James Herlihy, he got to the area, and when he was riding around, he confronted somebody that was on a bike, a woman named Kelsey Pierce. And let me not say a woman, actually, let me say this menace.
Monster.
Yeah, a monster. A menace to society, okay? He confronted her.
You need to get it right, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Yeah. She was an absolute monster. She was a menace to society. He confronted her. And he stopped her because she fit the profile. She fit the description that was given. I believe dark shirt, black shirt, and a backpack.
And then, of course, she was riding the bike.
and she was riding a bike, of course. So we stopped her, and I guess, you know, some kind of confrontation ensued. So we're gonna stop there and show you the video.
Yo.
Yeah.
But prior warning, I'm just gonna
brace yourself.
Brace yourself. We're gonna give you a content warning. This is just graphic content. You know,
it's disturbing. It might disturb
if you do have a family member, father, a mother, whoever, a brother or a sister who is in law enforcement, this might be too sensitive.
Avert your eyes.
Avert your eyes. If you have children in the room, right now, you might want to tell them to leave. Because what's about to happen to this officer,
your sensitivities,
it might churn your stomach. Okay, we're just warning you.
This is about a 2-minute video. Okay, so we're gonna put it on. Here's the video.
Where do you live at? Let me see your ID.
What for?
Let me see the ID, or you're going to go in handcuffs, go in the back of the car till I can figure out what's going on. Someone called about a female with a black shirt and a backpack. Right. Let me see your ID.
I live. This is my Halloween costume that I'm wearing at work today. There is my ID.
Take it out of there for me. Get off the bike. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Drop that stuff. You gotta make things difficult, I see.
I am late for work. I have done nothing.
Like I said, someone called about a female with a black shirt on, with a backpack, yes, looking in people's driveway. And guess what you have?
I'm
right here.
On my way to work. I live in. This was my first day riding my bike, but now I see why people don't ride their bike down.
Okay, keep exaggerating everything. Have a seat. Keep exaggerating, that'll get you places.
Thanks.
Were you riding with anybody else today?
No, sir. This is my first time to ride my bike.
Okay.
And you startled me when you honked at me and told me to get off of my bike, and for no reason. I mean,
well, there is a reason. Like I said, we received a call that a female with a backpack and a black shirt, which that's close enough to black, was riding in the neighborhood.
I was obviously willing to cooperate. You startled the shit out of me.
Well, obviously you weren't. That's why you're in handcuffs in the back seat of the car, because you were throwing stuff at me. You handed me the ID card like you wanted to use it as a weapon and throw it at me.
Right.
In a minute, as soon as I see that if you're clear of warrant.
Is it a FR or DI?
You okay? You okay? You okay? Are you okay? I know that was a bloody situation.
That was very tough to watch, man.
I understand.
It kind of shook me up, man.
You know what I'm surprised at? Like I'm really proud of the officer for, you know, keeping his cool in a situation where he was under such threat.
In the face of certain danger, he was very calm. In the face of his demise,
I'm telling you, we have Officer Sleuth here. Let me tell you why we have Officer Sleuth. He's on top of his game because what I suspect is that deadly weapon that she had, that piece of plastic,
laminated plastic, man.
No, the plastic that she presented. I think it was one of those like new Swiss Army IDs.
Oh, so something was about to come out.
Something was about to come out of it. He was on top of his game. I'm glad he recognized, you know, cause he must know he must know the underground, the underground black market weapons. Because he was on top of that.
He was able to identify the identification in that it wasn't actually just an identification.
It wasn't like one of those like regular
like a
IDs.
Regular driver's license.
No. It wasn't one of those regular driver's license, dog. Nah. She thought she was slick.
Duh.
She thought she was slick.
This dude.
Maybe it could have been a shank. Cause I'm telling you, you couldn't see it on the camera, but the junk might have had some sharp edges, man.
Man, let's go through the video, man. So first of all, he, at first it seems like he's already a little tense at the beginning.
Yo, he's
like, yo, let me see your ID. You live around here? Give me your ID, right? And she's like, okay, all right, what the hell's going on? Right? Let me see it. She shows it to him. Now, first of all, she's putting her stuff on the bike, right? Now, she's irritated. Of course, she's irritated.
And she's like, she doesn't have to take her stuff out of the backpack.
No, she doesn't.
He hasn't given her a reason to search.
No, she's not being detained.
Somebody calling, it doesn't warrant him to search her.
No.
She's not. There's no crime.
She shows him the ID. Take it out.
No, Will. You need to be honest.
He said, okay, show the ID. Okay, so she showed him the ID.
No, he said show. Yeah, and then what did she do?
Well, I'm talking about when it was still in like the wallet.
Oh, okay.
So then she showed it to him. He's like, take it out. Okay, and then she took it out and was like, bam. Right, that's what happened, right? She threw it at him.
Oh, you mean like what's the dude? What's the cook who does that?
Who you talking about?
The cook who does the bam. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Somebody in the comment section know his name.
I don't know, but yeah, man. Like, you saw the video. Did she throw it at him? He said you were throwing stuff around and using the ID like as a weapon. Like how?
Said to throw it at him.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
like you were gonna throw it at me like a weapon. Like that's the best you can do. That's the best you can do. Like what he could have at least like.
No. What he could have did, he could have like when like she like did like this and handed it.
Yeah.
He could have at least like like how soccer players flop. Oh no, Vladi Divac, Vladi. But he could have been like, ah!
Or he could be like,
oh no, he could have did like the
come on, man, get it in my hand.
You know how like the cartoon slip on the banana peel. He could at least like and just.
But I didn't see the cam go up to the sky.
Emerald, yeah, Kendra, that's right, Emerald.
Yeah, Emerald. But I didn't see the camera go up to the sky, like, so he didn't like fumble or lose his footing or anything like that.
He could have at least been like, well, like when you put the card out so aggressively, the wind blew and it blew me over
and it sliced my finger. See the blood right here? See the blood? See, you did that. But see, man, this is another case of a police officer overstepping his authority. There was no, you know what? Actually, she didn't have to provide the identification.
Nope.
Didn't have to.
No.
She could have been like, "Am I being detained?" No, I'm out.
Like, yeah, like
that's it.
Somebody called. Okay, that's not enough. Like, I think what happens is, like, let's just say somebody called.
Yeah, okay.
Like, so people call all the time. Like I said, I have a friend who works dispatch, and he has the funniest, most interesting stories that like he tells every day. Well, not every day. He doesn't work every day, but like every week or every time I see him, he always has these interesting stories to tell about what people call about, and they always have to be on guard about people's like being oversensitive or seeing things that are really not a threat.
Like they're not really seeing.
And so like
they're just on guard.
And it's not out of the question, because I know police officers who do this. They take into account that people may not know what they're talking about. Yeah. So they come up to situations knowing that they still have to assess the environment and the circumstances before they approach a person or a situation.
And if that person that called did actually see what they reported that they saw, okay, I mean, that's reasonable for them to call the cops, have somebody check it out. Now, it's not reasonable to put handcuffs on a person because they handed you a license. And even if they are irritated, even if they curse you out, there's no reason to slap handcuffs on them, because one, did they commit, like, even if this was the person, you don't know if this is the person or not, did they commit a crime? Is looking into driveways a crime?
That's the thing.
That's not a crime.
That's the thing. Like, he could have at least like conjured up an actual crime. Like, the only thing he said was, y'all were looking, you and somebody else, or you were looking into driveways. Yes. What does that even mean? Looking into driveways?
I don't even know what that means.
I don't even know what that means.
But that's not a crime. I guarantee you that's not a crime.
Again, as a police officer, is up to him to say, look, we had a call that this was going on. I'm gonna tell you what the issue is. Yeah. Even if they can't like specifically point to a particular crime, which they actually should, which he didn't even do that. So my thing is, like, he couldn't even cover his ass like on his needless harassment. And the thing is, the ironic part, well, actually the entire thing was ironic, but like a specifically ironic part when he said that she was exaggerating.
Yes, she was exaggerating. But he said the ID could have been used as a weapon.
You gonna throw it at me?
You were throwing things around.
Throwing things around.
Even like I said, even if her motions were demonstrative, she placed stuff on her own bike. She did not give anything to the officer but her license.
No, the way he made it sound, it was like she took her bag and was like dumped it all on top of him. Here or something.
You go. See. There you go, and it like caught him in the eye or something like that, like nicked his eye or something like that, a cornea scratch or something. Like,
use it as a weapon.
This is why people are apprehensive about their dealings with police officers. This is why, like, if I'm in this situation, I might be like, you know what? I'm not answering any questions. Am I being detained? Am I being detained? No. Peace out. I'm gone. That's it. I'm not handing you no identification. We're not having a conversation. I'm out.
And you know what else, man? And I think a lot of people might agree with me is that, like, because if you look at the Sandra Bland situation and you look at the Alton Sterling situation, you know, or you look at any situation that involves somebody in police custody and they end up being hurt or killed. What that's going to do is that may create a situation where people don't even want to be detained by the police.
And so they're scared of
They're scared. So what I'm saying is somebody might want to be like, nah, I don't want to put my hands behind my back because I'm scared of what might happen afterwards. Because if you're acting like this, even though I was in no way threatening, how are you going to act?
And you hear the officer lying about your actions.
You see that? So he is trying to that tells me that he knew exactly what he was doing. He was speaking into the body cam, which was recording sound too, in a way so that
he was justifying his actions.
He was justifying his actions in real time so that his report would match up with it, even if the footage didn't match up with it, because you can interpret footage any way you want to, but as long as that cop is making the claim in real time that that's what's happening, he's not lying.
Right. And so Captain Bo Miller with the OKCPD, there was a press conference, and he said that the matter would be investigated at the division level, but would not be referred to internal affairs investigators. What's gonna happen to this officer? Nothing at all. But something should happen to him because he exceeded his authority. She should not have been placed in handcuffs. She should not have been placed in the back of that patrol car for no reason. Nothing she did. Not even if she cursed dude out, called him outside his name, insulted his dog, his mama, anybody, man. She has the right to do that. She's not making any aggressive actions, any threatening actions. Here you go.
And like I said, he didn't even do a good job at creating false probable cause. Like, he didn't even do a good job at that. Like, he must have just skipped the course or the prerequisite course on police brutality or something. Called warrantless interactions 101. Like, what?
Yo. It was a ho-hum effort.
Man, you on punishment, dog. You on punishment, dog.
I just thought of it, man. Ho-hum effort.
You better not be coining that junk, dog. Better not be coining.
Put it on a t-shirt.
No, but that junk is ridiculous. It was like,
that's one of the more ridiculous confrontations I've
seen. It was like he was going after this woman like she was like the infamous bicycle bandit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just felt like, no, actually didn't felt like, it looked based on the footage that, like, she didn't meet the threat level necessary for him to act like that, for him to behave in that way.
She didn't.
It's like
He invented it out of thin air. He invented that whole situation out of thin air. And he's not going to face any repercussions.
And see, that's the thing. Like, you know, you can tell she was agitated, but it actually, her agitation was warranted, but it actually wasn't. It wasn't like preventing the situation from carrying out. It wasn't preventing him from carrying out his investigation. She was like, oh, okay, let me comply. Take out my bag. Here's my ID. Blah, blah, blah. Like, she was, in my opinion, more reserved than I would have been. I mean, you seen me.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
like I said, I feel like it would have went totally different. Yeah, with either one of us there. Me, I'm like, yo, detained or no? No, I'm out. That's it. That's why people don't want to deal with police officers, man. Situations like this. All right, so let's move on to New York City. Okay. Manhattan Supreme Court Judge Arlene Bluth was recently surprised to find out that the New York Police Department has not made efforts to back up data on property seized from New Yorkers worth millions of dollars. She said that's insane when learning this in court on October 16th. So this is from The Gothamist. This is a website. The revelation, included in a civilian NYPD tech employee's affidavit, reaffirmed concerns that have brewed for years that the NYPD civil forfeiture process, twice ruled unconstitutional, lacks an accountability system to track, protect, or rightfully return personal property. The NYPD is supposed to return property seized during an arrest once a criminal case ends, so long as the person has a signed release from prosecutors. But public defenders say these requests are often ignored without consequence. So we've talked extensively about civil asset forfeiture before, and
we did a story last year about in Oklahoma about
right. And how about the Oklahoma? Was it the?
They're making it easier for cops to seize funds. They extended it to things like prepaid cards and stuff like that.
Yeah, they could just take the money from prepaid credit cards without charging anybody.
That's right. That's a fact.
Without charging anybody.
Without charging anybody.
I mean, they look all across America, man. The police departments are able to confiscate assets, money, and it is oftentimes very difficult for people to get that money back. This hearing on October 16th concerned a lawsuit brought forth by Bronx defenders in an effort to force the NYPD to disclose all of the property seized and how that property is tracked and stored. So
wasn't there some sort of sworn affidavit from the what's the system called PETS? The property and evidence tracking system.
Right.
That's what's called. Apparently it was a sworn affidavit from somebody, the IT person that works there, some head IT person that said that like the system lacked adequate tracking, the ability to like back up data.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. Like we're talking about not just property of like, possible people who are suspected of something. We're talking about evidence too.
Evidence too.
It's the same. It's in the same system.
Yeah. And not just property, money, cash. Cash, money. That's what we're talking about. They don't have a good enough system to adequately track these assets.
They say they don't have an adequate system.
Yeah,
they say, but the system costs $25 million.
Yeah, I think they said they can't do it.
They said they can't. Well, that's what they said when confronted.
Right.
That's what they said when they were confronted. We'll get to what they kind of finally said, like when they finally issued a response to all these freedom of information requests.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. Like you have a system that lacks, I guess, the tracking, the protection, and ensuring that people's properties returned. All that's lacking. Yep. That doesn't seem like an oversight or like a design flaw, does it?
Seems like it.
That's a system set up to steal from people.
Yeah, it seems like it's intentional. It seems like it's intentional. And in this lawsuit, it details a case of a guy named Gerald Bryan. So in 2012, March of 2012, in the middle of the night, NYPD officers busted into this guy's home in the Bronx and tore through his belongings, tore up his light fixtures, punched walls, and confiscated about $5,000 in cash. Okay. Now, Brian, who was 42, he was taken into custody. He was suspected of felony drug distribution. The police continued their warrantless search. Now, it wasn't until over a year later that his case was dropped. The charges were dropped against Brian. Now, he went to retrieve his cash. He went to retrieve his approximately $5,000. And guess what happened? He wasn't able to get it. Why? Because he was told that the money had already been deposited into the NYPD pension fund.
And it was too late. Too late. Too slow. He was too slow.
Again, he's innocent. In the eyes of the law, he is innocent.
They didn't have a case against him.
Drop the charges. He is innocent in the eyes of the law. You stole $5,000 away from this dude. You're supposed to be storing that money until this case is rectified. It's rectified now. Charges are dropped. He comes to get his money back that you took from him, and he's told that it's now being the interests are now for the NYPD pension fund.
They said it's too late. It's already been deposited into the pension fund, so we can't do anything about it. Number one,
do you know how do you know how irate? I mean, I can't even. Do you know?
First of all, this is my problem. Like, why did it go into the pension fund in the first place? Oh, why did it go anywhere? Because guess what? Like, what is the legal standard? The legal standard is that if someone is acquitted or charges are dropped or they're innocent,
it's given back.
It's given back. That's a standard.
You have to hold it.
So guess what?
You have to preserve it.
So guess what? Somebody shouldn't even have to come find or come get their money. It should be a standard practice to just go ahead and say, okay, yeah, here's your money.
That's right.
Why
do you have to go request it?
Why do you have
my money? You took it.
They should just give it back. Like, the fact that they put it in the pension fund, that tells me it was like they just planned to keep it the whole time.
And when did they put it in the pension fund? See, that's a question that I want to answer, because this is over a year later now, right? So you tell me at some point they decided, well, I guess this guy's not gonna come, come for it. So why don't we just use it for us? That means the system is very flawed, or it's working exactly the way it should.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably a more apt description of this system. It's working exactly as it's supposed to. That's why the freedom of information requests were ignored, because they understand that this little sham it serves as an avenue to enrich themselves financially.
No doubt.
And my thing is, like, first of all, I think it's kind of wrong-headed and a kind of a improper to have this money go into the pension fund in the first place. If it's going to
you think it's improper?
Well, I mean, I'm saying, let's just say, I don't care if even if the person's guilty, I don't think it should.
No, it shouldn't.
I think, where it should go? I think it should go into the city treasury.
Yeah, that's
where it should go.
Yeah,
because, like, all you're doing is you're kind of setting everything up to, like, be, like, I guess, incentivize bad behavior.
You're setting it up to where, like, the NYPD or any police department is a business now.
Isn't that what kind of they have been? It's just that they are finding new ways to expand their business, and I think that's
increase their revenue.
But they're not just increasing their revenue, because in the story that we did last year, they added up the dollar amount that was obtained through civil asset forfeiture, and actually was more than the amount of money that had been stolen by criminals. Money, this combination of money and property that have been reported to be stolen by criminals that law enforcement was going after. Like, the amount that they had obtained through civil asset forfeiture exceeded that. So they ain't got a problem with raising money, dude. This is bullshit. This is some greed.
There's a there's a council member, a Bronx City council member by the name of Richie Torres, and he introduced legislation in 2005, 2 years ago, and it would have required the NYPD to give more detailed annual reports on all the assets and money that has been seized. Now, it was actually signed into law in August, so it's going into effect. I believe, I guess the overall effects of it will be seen by 2019. But in this case, they're like, yo, there's no reason. We understand that this law has, is going into effect, but there's no reason that we shouldn't have this access to the information right the hell now. So that's why, that's why this hearing is, going on right now.
I mean,
they want answers.
To me, this is a good example of why I guess the talk and the conversation about police brutality needs to expand. Yes, we should still highlight how police brutality happens in the form of unarmed people getting shot or tased when they're not a threat, or when they're in handcuffs, people getting kicked in the head, kneed in the face, punched when they're not a threat, or when they're surrendering. Yes, I guess when police brutality happens in that form, yeah, we still need to highlight it. But the issue I see is a large portion of the public that already has like these pre-established responses to justify it. Like what? They have a hard job. They have to patrol in a high crime area with all these deadly criminals, or they're in fear for their lives. You know what I'm saying? So they already have these like these kind of already well packaged responses to police brutality. So I guess if we kind of expand the conversation and kind of I guess let it continue into the area of like, hey, this is like financial terrorism. This is financial bullying and financial intimidation. It's going to be very hard for people to justify theft. Like what's going to be their response? How do they justify it? Like, are you going to say, well, why'd they steal this money? Well, can't use they were in fear for their life. It has nothing to do with being in a high crime area. You don't have to steal because of that. Like, your job is hard, so you should steal. So there's not a lot of justification that can be used in these cases.
So we need to continuously highlight these obvious cases of police brutality, and especially when unarmed civilians are being shot and murdered. Of course, we need to highlight those cases, but that actually falls up under a big umbrella of bad policing behavior. Bad policing.
I mean, because that's all that the brutality we see is like not in a vacuum. I think that particular type of brutality,
it's an attitude, man.
It's an attitude.
It's a whole attitude.
I think that what we see that's like the most graphic is only a manifestation of, I guess, the continued corruption and how law enforcement and the criminal justice system is contaminated with people who want to abuse their power.
So
you know
like
what I'm saying?
It's putting that big old thumb on people, and it's just a bullying practice that these people use. I mean, of course they have power, of course they have influence, and of course their actions are excused and defended by not just people with power, but people without power too, just like you were saying. People that say, okay, yeah, their job is hard. Yeah, we all know that.
Enablers. Same thing when we talk about like the sexual harassment and sexual assault.
Exactly.
There's so many enablers.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. This is like it's basically a law enforcement money laundering scheme.
It is, man.
But who does it affect?
Stealing assets,
who does it affect?
money.
Who does it affect more? Who would affect more? Poor people.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Because poor people can't afford to like lose or replace.
You know they ain't doing this in. You know they ain't like all this civil asset forfeiture isn't like the practices isn't in high usage in wealthy neighborhoods and suburbs.
And the thing about them releasing the statement at the beginning saying that, oh, our system is not adequate enough and we can't retrieve it. And when they finally issued a statement after the Freedom of Information request, you know what their response was? There's nothing wrong with the system. Our systems are fine. I was like, wait a second. When people were trying to retrieve their property, oh, we have a problem with the system.
Right. That's a little bit of a
contradiction.
Yeah.
But now when it comes into question that your systems aren't adequate, now you're saying your systems are adequate. Now you have no excuse. It can't be both.
No.
So my thing,
it's perfectly able, because I believe there were some tech experts saying that no, this system can do it. It can do it. But of course, at first they were saying no, we don't have the capability. But then at the end, it was like, no, it's fine, it's good.
When there's this much tap dancing and like stalling, when there's like information requests,
think they hiding something.
Not just that, the corruption goes all the way up the chain.
Yeah. So yeah, in this case though, I believe the next scheduled hearing is in December though, I believe. So we'll see what. Let's see how what the results are. All right, so let's go to Virginia. So there is a governor race in the state of Virginia, and Donald Trump is sticking his big old nose in it, right? So I can't even be sure that he has a big nose. I just wanted to say it because he's just sticking his nose in it, right? So anyway, earlier this morning. On Thursday morning, he put a tweet out about one of the candidates, Ed Gillespie, that he is supporting. He said, Ed Gillespie will turn the really bad Virginia economy numbers around, and fast. Strong on crime, he might even save our great statues' heritage.
Statues / heritage. Just like remember that.
Yeah.
Remember, statues /
like they're the same thing.
No. They are the same thing. And he is actually like pointing that out.
He said our.
That's actually pretty true.
Our.
He says
statues.
Our great statues.
Yeah, and
our heritage.
Yeah.
So he's he's not actually making a good point. Because he's connecting statues to heritage. What does heritage have to do with? Heritage has to do with traditions, and all traditions aren't good.
No, they're not. Of course they're not.
So what is he talking about when he's talking about heritage, and what statues do these heritage represent? What traditions do these statues
of course he's
represent?
Talking about the Confederate statues and the Confederate memorials, and anybody should know that heritage that is aligned with these memorials and these statues is the heritage is the past of the Confederacy, the Confederate States of America. And what did they symbolize? Why did they leave the Union? Because they wanted to preserve slavery. So that is the heritage.
The tradition of treating individuals like they're not human. The tradition of disenfranchising people. That's the tradition these statues represent.
And he's making this race now. He's making this governor race about these statues. And so the candidate too, Ed Gillespie, he liked and retweeted Trump's comment. And he also has a little campaign video that I'm gonna play for everybody here.
For governor, there's a clear choice. Ralph Northam wants to take down Virginia's Civil War monuments.
I will do everything that I can to remove the statues at the state level.
Ralph Northam will take our statues down. Ed Gillespie will preserve them.
I'm for keeping them up, and he's for taking them down. And that's a big difference in November.
On November 7th, vote Ed Gillespie for governor.
I'm Ed Gillespie, candidate for governor, and I sponsored this ad.
Up. He's for taking them down. Now vote for me.
What the fuck? Yo, why is this?
How is that like?
Why is this?
How is that the center? How is that the centerpiece of your campaign commercial?
You made a whole video. You made a whole campaign ad about I'm for keeping them up. He's for taking them down. What? Like, so this is this dude's gripe, right? He thinks that this should be handled at a local level, not a state level, which is what Northam wants to do, I guess. Even though by saying that, it's like you're not really putting yourself on any side. It's kind of like you're saying, well, I don't think it should be at a state level. I think it should be handled local. But no, he signaled his intentions in that campaign video by saying, I'm keeping them up. So even if you can't have it both local,
you can't have it both ways.
You're still for keeping them up. And he said that, you know what? I think this is his comment. while not removing statues, they are okay, so you know what? Let me give a little context. He cited the city of Richmond as an example, and then he said, while not removing statues, they are weighing how to put them in proper historical context. There is a balance that can be struck here, one that recognizes the outsized role Virginia has played in our history, while acknowledging that we have not always been on its right side. So what? Okay, so while not removing the statues, I guess he's talking about Richmond. While not removing the statues, you want to put them in proper context, proper historical context. There's a balance that can be struck. What kind of balance are you talking about? If we're not talking about removing these awful statues, what kind of balance are you talking about?
Well, maybe I can interject with some balance. You know, in Trump's tweet, he did say something about Gillespie fixing the economy or something like that. Well, maybe they can take the statues down, put them in a museum with all the other Confederate artifacts, and you know what I'm saying? And the historicity, and have that all over the place in a museum. Take it down, put it all in a museum, have people pay to see it.
Oh, that's a good, yeah. At a fee.
A fee
to seeing them and cherishing them.
Exactly. They cherish them so much they'll put their money where their mouth is and go see them.
That's a good idea. I don't think they'll be for that though.
That would help the economy out too, right? They'll be helping the economy.
See, okay. First of all, there. So there. This is all about these monuments, these statues, right? So first of all, you want to preserve a busted history, just an awful history of a time in which a state like yours seceded from the Union, seceded from America, to preserve the evil, the brutality of slavery. That's what your history is, and that's what you want to preserve. Okay, so that's wrong altogether, and that's wrong. But two, history. It's always about history we're talking about. Always about history, right? Now, you would think that these statues, these memorials, were put up probably before the Civil War, right? Because I mean, if you're talking about a historical context, maybe you're talking about like it's a landmark. Like this is a landmark. You don't want to take it down.
You're saying that like these monuments are a representation of some sort of it's a real-time erection.
A real-time erection. Yeah.
This happened during the time.
Yeah, but is that the case? No, that's not the case.
This was a later erection.
Yeah. Most of these monuments, like these Confederate monuments, most of them, if not all, were erected after the Civil War had ended. Not during, not before, after the Civil War had ended. And speaking more in like in more modern day times, since the year 2000, the Southern Poverty Law Center has estimated that over 30 of these memorials, these statues, have been put up in various parts of the country. So, and they think that's a low estimate too. Over 30 of them since the year 2000. And
most likely in utilizing government funds to do so.
You know that. Some of them are privately funded. Some of them. But still, if it's about a historical context, why would you be erecting new statues? That's not for history. No, that's to preserve your history. And we hear from people that support these ideas, that support these monuments and these statues, like, you know, well, history is written by the winners, you know, so we don't want to lose our history. But
you lost.
Yeah, no, but even if you lost, who cares? Nobody's erased in history. Like, there's a whole bunch of history in that place you just referenced, the museum.
But we gotta.
There's a whole lot of history there that you can go and celebrate it there.
But we gotta break this down, though, man. You know, when people offer their explanations for things that aren't that kosher, like you said, like, can you efficiently defend X? Can you efficiently defend Y? They can't efficiently defend this, so they have to choose their words carefully in order to justify it. So I think when people say history, that's one of those words. You are erasing history. I don't think that's what they mean. I think they're using history as a placeholder for something else, and that's an attitude. You're erasing my attitude. You're erasing my mindset. You're erasing a particular, like, these statues mean something in conjunction with an attitude, in conjunction with a worldview. That's what they feel. That's what they fear is going away. And I think that is the larger problem. Like I said,
it can't be the statue.
It's not the statue in and of itself. It kind of what it symbolizes in their mind. It symbolizes an attitude. It symbolizes a worldview. It symbolizes a perspective. So when they say you're erasing my history, they're just using history as a placeholder for some sort of conscience that they know is dying, and they don't want to see that conscience die. And I think it is important to note that when the president expresses himself on Twitter about the historicity of these statues and this heritage and this questionable tradition that he, you know, reveres or says he reveres, which I actually think he doesn't care. He just puts himself in the middle of things that are easy. But I do think it does point to, like, a very important type of attitude that he has. It does point to a very important type of worldview that may affect his decision. So when people say, why does it matter? No, it's not that the statues matter. What matters is what they symbolize, not just to regular people, is what they symbolize to people who are supposed to be leading our country on a pathway to change. If they can't even relinquish certain monuments that represent attitudes of the past, how can we expect them to actually go forth on a pathway to change? It just doesn't make sense.
And like you said, about it couldn't be just about the monuments, because especially if we're talking about these monuments that have been built since 2000, how could I be erasing your history if they're new? Like, that makes
maybe they were
no
born. Maybe they were born in
sense.
2000. So if they're born in 2000, if they was born in 2000, that's their history.
All right, you know what, man? I'm gonna start advocating for some other kind of statues, man. I think O.J. Simpson should get a statue outside of the Buffalo Bills stadium. Because, check it out. Check my logic now, right? Check my logic. He meant a lot to the National Football League.
He went to the history.
Yeah, I'm going to history. Football. He meant a lot to the National Football League, and he meant a lot to the Buffalo Bills
Maybe
franchise.
They should put one out in Southern Cal, too, then.
Maybe they should. That's what I'm saying. Now, these people, would they support that kind of idea? Would they support that? And you know what? I'll even go more modern history. I'll go more modern history, dog. How about we erect a statue for Harvey Weinstein? He's meant a lot to the movie industry.
The movie industry, Hollywood, the entertainment industry. He's done Hollywood, a lot for them.
We can do it right in Hollywood, where he's made most of his impact on many, many movies that have been well regarded in our society. He's made many moves in our society, and like I said, he's been credited for it. He's made a name for himself in the movie industry. Shouldn't he get a statue? See, that's the ridiculousness of it. Statues aren't to preserve history. Statues are to celebrate whatever it is erected. And these, Confederate soldiers, these Confederate heroes, like, why are they heroes to you? Why do you want to preserve that history? Why do you want to do that? What did they mean in history? I'm okay that they're your ancestors. I'm okay with that, because you can't fix that. But for you to celebrate that type of past, and for this dude too, Ed Gillespie, this candidate, the end of his statement was, while acknowledging that we have not always been on its right side of history. Virginia has not always been on its right side.
He's admitting.
So why would you want to celebrate not being on the right side of history? Why would you want to celebrate that? You want to celebrate the positive aspects of Virginia, not when you brutalized people, not when you kept people in slavery, killed them, raped them, split them up from families, stole their history. Why would you want to celebrate that type of history? That makes no damn sense.
That's why they have to be vague about it and just say heritage and history, because they understand what it represents. And if they actually are, arming themselves in this way in support of such a monuments, then to me, they're not this is not like a rhetorical acknowledgement. It's an attitudinal acknowledgement as well. And like I said before, it is important, you know, to address certain attitudes and mindsets that our leaders have. And that's why it's important, because these people are supposed to, if these people don't have a grasp on history, right? A grasp on history, being on the right side of history, how are they going to be on the right side of the future?
I know. How are you going to lead us into the future? Where you're supposed to lead us into a post-racial society. That's what people are looking for. Post-racial societies. We don't want to hear about race dividing us anymore. How are you going to do that when you're still when you still have Civil War reenactments? When you're still protecting these.
You just, I forgot about the Super Bowl. I forgot about that, man. I wasn't ready for that. I was like, oh god,
we need to let go of all this.
I wasn't ready for that, man. I just had a picture in my head because I used to see videos of that, man.
I'm saying, we need to let go of all this beef. Like you know what? We shouldn't be concerned with this anymore. You know, because it was things of the past. But you keep it steadily in our face. Like I said, with these Civil War reenactments and all these statues that don't represent all of us, they don't even represent you. If you're saying that you want a post-racial society and you're for equality, so they're not even representing you.
So it
can't be about that.
So if I, as a politician, cherish something that doesn't represent everybody and actually represents the disenfranchisement of people, and I cherish that, how in the world can I practice my politics with a sense of equity now? It just doesn't make intellectual sense.
And it will show up in your decision
making.
All right. Somewhat connected, well, not connected, but somewhat, I guess, linked story about the disenfranchisement of people. And there was a guy at a college, Albright College in Reading, Pennsylvania. And this is a college student, backup quarterback for the football team. And recently he was kicked off of the team for kneeling for the national anthem. So apparently, well, his name is Gaillard Durante. And apparently he wasn't kicked off just solely for kneeling for the anthem, but for defying the team compromise. So they had actually came to a compromise on what was going to be done. So it started off with him initially raising his fist for the national anthem with a few of his teammates. I believe they did that for a few games. But then after Donald Trump's comments about, you know, kick them off the field and, you know, sons of bitches, after those comments, he thought, well, you know what? I need to ramp it up. You know, I need to be a little bit more drastic with my display. So that's when he started kneeling. So he kneeled for the national anthem at a game, and the next morning, his coach's name is John Marska, called him into his office. Now, his coach Marska started going over the history of the national anthem, and he also said that the kneeling was disrespectful to the military. Now, Durante's response was, quote, I told him I was doing it to protest systemic racism, discrimination, social injustice, and I told him about what Trump said. That's something I just can't stand for. So Coach Marska seemingly did not care. He was unmoved, and he was very unreceptive to his comments, and he told him that he was not going to kneel again, and if he did, he would be kicked off the team. So I believe Durante said something like, well, you know, I got to do what I got to do, something like that. So later on that day, Coach Marska met with the team's leadership council, and they came to a compromise. This is where the compromise fits in. So the compromise was that before the game, they were going to read a statement, and this was the statement that they were going to read and that they actually did end up reading. We stormed this field behind the American flag as a symbol of our commitment, our unity, and the value we place on our freedoms. We both kneel and stand tall out of the mutual respect we have for each other and the value we place on our differences. Now, also, they knelt for the coin toss, but then when the national anthem came on, they stood up. They stood for the national anthem. Durante felt like this compromise was not sufficient, so what did he do? He knelt for it. 2 days later, he was kicked off the team. Now, after that, of course, came the media attention, came a lot of backlash, and backlash even came from the school's own faculty. And they said in a statement, it was a public statement that they released. It said, his dismissal is a threat to freedom of conscience and freedom of speech. So then after all of this negative attention surrounding this surrounding this story, Durante was offered reinstatement by the school's president, whose name is Jacqueline Fintrell. But because of, well, like I said, they did offer him a reinstatement. He met with Coach Marska and one of the athletic directors. It was a brief meeting, but after that he was like, nah, you know what, it's a little bit too late. I'm not feeling this at all. I'm not coming back to the team. So now his goal now is to finish out the semester and move on to another school, which he's gotten a few offers from. One Division III school, I believe, had offered, or he's talking to in terms of playing football there. But like I said, he plans to move on to pursue his education and his football playing, and that's where he is right now. So what stuck out to me in this story, well, I mean, it was a few things that stuck out to me, but first of all, when his coach brought him into the office after he defied the compromise that the team had came to, it said that his coach started explaining to him the history of the national anthem. I wonder what history he was going over.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he wasn't talking about the entire history in the context of the entire song, the entire context.
Do you think he mentioned Francis Scott Key?
No.
Do you think he?
I've already
all the different stanzas.
Nope. I told you, like, if you just look at the song and you haven't seen it and just go through the lines and the lyrics of the song, you can tell there's a weird jump.
Yeah.
You know, when there's a gap, you know, if I took a gap out of a story, you could tell, because it's just it's a jump from plot line to plot line.
Right.
Another plot line that doesn't follow. And that's what you can tell, that just by looking at the lyrics of the song, you're like, wait a second, how does it jump from that to that? So it gives credence to just an assumption that something was taken out. But that assumption is actually validated when you look at the fact that there was a lot of lyrics taken out. But I doubt that coach talked about that history. But it's kind of interesting. He said he used history almost as a way to, as kind of the background as to why they stand and for the pledge.
And how it's disrespectful to the military.
So if he's using history as a basis for why they stand for the national anthem, can't we use history as the basis for why we kneel?
That would be apt, because there's a lot of history, and he explained that history. He explained his reasoning for why he wanted to kneel for the national anthem, because there's substantial history that you have to go on if you want to make that decision and kneel for the national anthem. So again, why is that not okay for you to take that action? Because that would be we've had so many of these conversations, but wouldn't that be the most opportune time to do it during the national anthem? Because most people believe that the national anthem is a symbol of patriotism and freedom for all of us, and equality for all of us. So wouldn't you at that time try to highlight how there needs to be more equality, more freedom for all of us, and how that is a patriotic show of expression?
But that was the kind of irony. He said that is a show of, I guess it represents, honoring your differences. And I was like, wait a second, you can't even honor this difference.
Yeah, I know.
But it's like, and I think it's important to highlight stories like this, is because the lowest common denominator in all of these stories that people think aren't important, a lot of people think these aren't important, but the lowest common denominator moving forward as a country is attitude. Like we can't, you know, it's like, how do you change like the way we move forward without changing attitudes? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people think, oh, these little stories don't matter. You know what I'm saying? They just don't really affect the bigger picture. And I'm like, actually, the lowest common denominator to why the biggest picture can't change is people. You can't change the world without changing your attitude. And so we can't address any larger structural issue without addressing the attitude from which they came. So if we're talking about people who are kind of still stuck in this kind of superficial adulation of symbols and getting all butthurt in their feelings, involved in something to where they actually disenfranchise other people. Isn't that what this is about though, right? This is about, we're supposed to be about advocating for a system that promotes equity. And these little side issues, these little supposedly these little side issues tend to like actually point the finger at people creating situations of inequity for those that do not like, you know, fall in line. You know what I'm saying? Like, all I'm saying is everything, the lowest common denominator to everything is attitudes. You know what I'm saying? So we can't move forward into these bigger things, even like police brutality. Police brutality in its many forms. Like we talking about, like the story we highlighted earlier about the civil asset forfeiture, about the police pensions. Like all that stuff is based on attitudes. The inefficiency and the corruption in the criminal justice system. All that's attitude. That's actually government, but that has to do with attitudes. And we could try to reform all these, you know, institutions we can do it academically and make all these calculations about what needs to happen, but ain't shit happening if these attitudes of the public and our leaders are changed. So this is more about attitudinal, and if you don't deal with that, then you won't see any change, or you won't see any revolution.
Some of these issues that we deal with really bring to the forefront just how horrible of a species the human race is, and our worst attributes. The lack of empathy, the lack of ability that a large segment of our population has just to listen, just to be open enough to listen to somebody else's concerns, because that's really all it boils down to. A lot of people just don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear other people's stories. They don't want to hear other people's difficulties. They don't want to hear about all that mess. They believe that they're separate from these kind of issues. They don't affect us personally. They don't affect me personally. So why should I care about it?
Yeah, all these issues boil down to like how people see the world.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what we talk about. We could be talking about healthcare. We can talk about the criminal justice system. We can be talking about education. We can talk about war. We can talk about anything. All these things like connect to one like focal point, and that's human attitudes, human traits, human characteristics. And so if we don't talk about that, then it all of the talk about all policy and voting, all of that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because we have to get down to the root of why these things are occurring. You know what I'm saying? That's why we keep repeating ourselves, because we constantly try to I don't know, like intellectually or academically, like I guess try to like fix these things without fixing the underlying cause, and that's attitudes. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the hardest thing.
And that's the hardest thing to change,
because that takes introspection. That takes somebody with the willingness to actually look at me and see, okay, what can I do to hear somebody else? What can I do to understand what somebody else is going through that maybe I don't see that's affecting me, but it is affecting somebody? How can I be more empathetic? And like I said, there's just too many of us in humanity that don't want to take that step.
You can't even talk about the history of this country and the foundations of it without talking about attitudes. You can't talk about the course of the course this country has taken in regards to how it engages in the world engages globally. You can't talk about that without talking about attitudes.
You would think that us as Americans, right? We're all here for first and foremost, America first, right? A lot of people believe that America first. We got to protect our own, right? We're a family here. We all have our own differences, but family first, America first, right? But we can't even do that because people want to stay in the past that separated us as Americans. Like, people with a darker pigmentation were held down, were brutally enslaved, were brutally oppressed. And the things that celebrate that type of past are protected from, a large segment of our population. So, I mean, how can we ever get anywhere as a people, as a country, as America first? How can we ever get anywhere when you are living in the past? We're trying to move forward. You're living in the past. We can't ever come together if that's your attitude, if that's your perspective. Anyway, well, that is the show. We're going to open it up for calls now. It's 803-450-0698. If anybody has a comment, anybody has a question, we'll also read some questions or comments in the chat section. How was the show, everybody?
Yeah, I just think it's just everything has to do with how people, how we relate to our environment. That's what it boils down to. So we're going to talk about how we and how the public, how our leaders relate to their environment, because if we don't talk about that, then we can't adequately talk about how these leaders are going to affect their environment based on the legislation that they choose to pass. And the legislation they choose to pass is based on their attitude and, I guess, how they interpret their environment, how they interpret this world, how they interpret their experiences along with everyone else too. And if we don't talk about that, like I said, talking about all this other stuff, that's just centered on academizing and intellectualizing policy change, it's very empty. Because if we don't get down to like the centerpiece, or we don't get down to the root or the source, then it doesn't matter.
We have a caller. Caller, welcome to the show. Welcome to LTMB Live. You're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey guys, this is Mary Hill.
Hey Mary, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Pretty good. I was waiting for Moose Girl to come back on because she asked me to come back and let you guys know about the meeting on last Thursday with my rep.
Right.
I forget his name. Chris Stewart. He has such a simple name. And so I don't know where Moose Girl is, but calling in to let you guys know how that went.
Okay.
First of all, they started with a prayer. I'm in LDS land, so Mormon land. So we did our basic Mormon prayer. And we did the Pledge of Allegiance. And I decided to sit for that. I didn't do that. And he only gave us 45 minutes. So he talked with some slides. He lied to us about everything, the tax plan, the trickle-down economics.
Right.
And what was the other thing? He brought up North Korea, how evil and what a danger they are to the world, which is somewhat true, but so is America. Sorry, but America, the rest of the world considers us the #1 threat to them.
Yeah.
And for some reason, he brought up the chemical attack in Syria, which happened a long time ago, and saying how, well, we know Assad did it, but I don't even know that they ever did any kind of investigation on that. America just said, well, we know he did it. We know he did it. Even though it was probably wasn't it our allies in that area that controlled that area? I know they were terrorists.
I do think we're working closely with some rebel groups, just like I think Russia is as well. So
yeah. So, I just felt that he wasn't being truthful about that. And I did want to ask him. I found out he's doing some bill for workers' rights, which is basically we are a right to work state. which means you're not forced to join a union.
Right.
So he's trying to make that federal law. So I done my history on the unions, and I wanted to bring that up. And what was it? Oh, and I did some history on the tax stuff, which you guys covered last show.
Right.
So I didn't really have any questions. I told his aide that I just have issues because I know he's not going to answer them the way I want him to. But they had us fill out these postcards, and so I wrote down my issues. You gave them your email and stuff. You put them in a box, and they post them out randomly. But again, they only gave us 45 minutes, so I wasn't allowed to speak.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I stood there with my kava and my chamomile and tried to be as calm as possible. And
yeah, that's how
when it was all said and done, I had some postcards I written out. I handed them to his aide and go, I don't appreciate him lying to us, and left and threw on some Green Day and drove off.
Well, you know, I think that's actually, you know, a pretty bold move. I'm not, I can't really say whether that's something that I would have done myself, but I think that type of response and boldness in the face of when you know people are being sold down the river is important, because they have to come face to face with people who actually know them for who they are and are willing to call them out and kind of hand it to them, like literally, you know what I'm saying, and rhetorically. So
and in these kind of environments too, it's, you know, it's good to push back if you're allowed to. You know, you weren't allowed to speak, but it's good to push back. But then, you know, what's the I guess what's the effect of it? You know, I don't know, because they're protected, because one, you only have so much time to talk if you're allowed to talk, and then they're by themselves too, you know, so you really need to get a group of them together to really push back. You know, we need a back and forth with our representatives to really go at them and challenge them on issues, because they are too protected. They're shielded.
Yeah, and unfortunately, being in Utah, you do have the church, so you have people who are controlled by the church, who have been born into the church, so they think it's the only way. And even though there was some pushback, especially with the taxes, you know, people will just do what they're told, unfortunately, if they've already had that mindset.
Yeah,
unfortunately, or fortunately, I was born with crappy parents, so I've always learned to distrust authority. But unfortunately, I think if you're born, because I finally made the connection with parents and the way our politicians are, people look at politicians and churches as authority figures like their parents. And if you have parents that you could trust, you're going to trust them.
Yeah, I think people tend to bow to authority, whether it be their parents or the religion or the government or, let's say, superdelegates. I think some people tend to bow to that authority. So yeah, but
well, and I get it. I mean, living in a world where you don't trust people really sucks. So I get it. But I'm thankful people are finally seeing the things I've seen. So just to let you guys know, and I did find there is someone on the Democratic side that is running against them in 2018. Unfortunately, she's a transgender woman, so in Utah,
oh
I
Lord,
don't know how well that's gonna go.
She doesn't stand a chance in heaven, hell, or any other realm.
I really hate to say that. It's probably true, but we got to keep trying.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the call, Mary.
All right, talk to you later, guys. Thanks.
All right, have a nice night.
Bye. You too.
Yeah, giving us some updates on what's going on in Utah. We appreciate that, Mary.
That's what's good about this. Well, yeah, man, that's what I hate about, you know, you get one of these representatives, you get one of these senators, and yeah, you know, maybe you may be the one to voice your opinion. I saw a clip of one guy in Arizona going at John McCain. He was reading a statement for at least about a couple minutes. This is a couple weeks back, and he was railing on him, and it made for good theater. But again, what's going to be the outcome of that?
And like
what's going to be the effect?
And I think like last week, that kind of like connects to what I said last week about them volunteering themselves up to be put to be to blame for something, and they don't care. They're already signing up for it.
Right.
Like I said, no matter whether it's Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, John McCain, Mitch McConnell, whatever, Reed, Graham, doesn't matter, Ryan, any of these people, they are signing up to take the blame, and they're cool with you yelling in their face,
showing up. Yeah,
they're cool.
Displaying your contempt. Yeah, they'll take it. Hello, caller. You're on the air live with LTMB. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey guys, this is Laurel from Chicago.
Hi, Laurel.
I'm calling in, but I've been watching you guys for a long time. I was also writing in the chat earlier about how I'm just glad y'all back because, I don't know, you were gone for a while. We didn't know what happened. We were like, wait, what?
Yeah, what had happened
was... Yeah.
While we were talking about, what's that schmuck's name? The dude on cable, Mark Halperin.
Oh, yeah. That's schmuck.
I was saying, like... Just as a woman, and you don't got to be hot, you don't got to be any particular way. It's just people who act like that, like just walking up and pressing your junk against someone's shoulder. I mean that's the lack of shame of someone who's been doing much worse than that for a really long time.
True.
And it's just so. It's horrible that all these, women and, just lovely individuals, have had to go through sexual trauma, which, unfortunately, once you're a part of that club, we can't get out of that club. But the good thing is that it seems like this is, peeling back the scab, and we're finally going to, address this, nasty, like sexual predation, mostly men, but women too. This shameful thing about, not just American culture. It's everywhere.
And it's not necessarily happening. Like it's not necessarily. I guess because these are adults behaving badly and they have prominent positions and they're celebrities, it gets more attention. But if you actually go look up the statistics on the number of children that are sexually abused, it is ridiculous. So we do have a problem in this world, in this country, with that issue, and those individuals end up having to develop within a society that most likely is not taking into account their experience and adjusting itself to their experience.
And Laura, like you said about it doesn't really have to do with how attractive one has to be too. It has all to do with their power and implementing their will on somebody else. It has all to do with that. They think about this particular case in Halperin. This is what we know. These are 5 women that have come forward and shared their stories. But what we don't know, man.
20 others.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if and a good part again, about kind of opening this dialogue up and being like, hey, like this is not just women. It's it's everywhere. It's a real problem. And some men and people who were victims in childhood. They might be emboldened by some part of this changing culture to join that conversation. And as always, it's always so important to have male allies in any conversation about this stuff.
Right.
And can I make one more tiny
sure, of course.
Recording? Awesome. All right, so I was actually calling in to Tim Black last week. Shout out to Tim, he's the man. And there was a caller who mentioned something about an interview which TYT Politics had posted of Emma Vigeland kind of trying to get a straight answer out of someone at this air quotes Unity Commission,
right?
Which, oh God, I mean. Yeah, anyway, so she's asking, why do superdelegates exist? And this person, it was so hard to even sit through. She was so condescending and just, talking out of both sides of her mouth and,
we talked about that on the last show.
Yeah, I think we talked about that on Tuesday. Her name was Elaine Camarque.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We talked about her.
And she was like, it's because we know them. We understand them. We know them personally. And I'm like, that's exactly the wrong point.
Right.
That's why you should not, because you should be looking at someone as a list of policies and not, it's kind of like why Jimmy Dore, slams when people from TYT, go and they schmooze with like these other like, cable casters, because it's a lot harder to, criticize someone for something that, deserves criticism when you know them and, you're like, oh, this person's so sweet or whatever, and that's the job of the Fourth Estate. The press is supposed to be the watchdog for the people, of what all these, a-holes in government are doing. And it's like, it's so the opposite. It's like,
when she was describing
with their kids.
When she was describing the need for the superdelegates and saying that these were the people, these are the people that know who these candidates are, and we can get tricked, we can get fooled into that.
Trump, she mentioned Trump too.
Yeah, Trump could maybe happen on the Democratic side. I'm like, well, hold on, we already have a system without the superdelegates being in place. We already have a system where all of these politicians, representatives, governors, senators, all of them come out and they show their support for these candidates. So they're already advocating for these people. So we already have that.
Exactly.
If we choose to listen to them, that's on us. We don't need super delegates to come and destroy the process and give us somebody. Nah.
Yeah, I think that's what I think the super delegates have. I think people view them in a more esteemed way than they should, and I think that's purposeful, because as soon as you hear as just if you're just a run-of-the-mill voter who's trying to decide, and you hear oh, these super delegates, oh, these are these people who are very important members of the party, who are I guess their viewpoint matters. So I think, like, again, I think people bend to authority a lot, and they give the super delegates too much credence, and I do think the Democratic Party is banking on that, and so they're banking on
gaslighting. It's all gaslighting, saying you need us to, tell you who really deserves the votes, and so we're going to give one person, 10,000 votes. It's such a slap in the face, and if there was at least one thing that the Democrats had made a change in, if they had said, okay, we're going to get rid of superdelegates, that alone would speak volumes. But no. This week was such a shit show, and hey, we got to draft Bernie because these Democrats are not changing. They have no interest in listening to us.
Yeah,
First all the Bernie press and put in lobbyists.
We totally agree with you. Everything you said, we totally agree. And that interview was very painful to watch.
Oh man, yeah, no kidding.
Well, thank you for calling, Laurel.
Oh yeah, man. I hope to call in again sometime real soon. This is awesome getting to chat to you guys for the first time. So rock on. I'll be listening to the rest of the show. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. You
too.
Thank you
for your support.
Right, bye.
All right. Yeah, man. That damn interview, though.
Yo, it didn't even feel like she was human when she was talking. It didn't even feel like Elaine was human. I just didn't feel like she had a human bone in her body. The way she was talking.
We need these super delegates. They know who these people are. You need them to tell you who to vote for.
And I think it might be a good example of the lines between political, I guess, integrity and then their personal relationships kind of being skewed a bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can't tell the difference. Right. They have these personal relationships with these people, but their political integrity is not there. They don't really care about that. Somebody trying to call.
Yeah, somebody was trying to call, but
so whoever that was trying to call, you can call back.
You know what? I think I recognized that number. I think that was
oh, there they go.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Hello, you're on the air with LTMB Live. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Taylor and I'm from Texas.
Yeah, Taylor from Texas. You called it on Tuesday. You have an unmistakable tone.
But anyway, like, I know a couple of months ago, like, at the Texas Capitol building in Austin, they had like this counter protest against white supremacy rally, because apparently there were this like pro like Dixie like rally was going to be happening and at the Capitol building to like support the Confederate statues that they still have at the Capitol building, but I was with like the ones that were trying to counter protest it, which was hosted by the Democratic Socialists of America organization and a whole bunch of other organizations that were part of it. And apparently the Dixie rally, they canceled it. So apparently we were just there, and obviously we took a tour around like each statue to like expose the history of it, like to expose the history of each like Confederate statue. And apparently it wasn't just the Confederate statues, it was also the Texas Ranger statues that we were like exposing against, because apparently they had like this history of like a genocide against Native Americans and Mexicans, like before Texas became, you know, like a state.
Yeah, so, it's a lot of history to find out. I've here in South Carolina, you know, we in front of the State House. I remember I took a stroll and looked at all of those Confederate monuments and, you know, just researched the history, and it's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing that they're sitting out there right in front of the State House. All the terrible things that they supported, all the terrible things that they mean to this country now. Because, you know, if there was a Confederate United States of America, sure, go ahead and throw that statue up, support all you want. But in America, it's in bad form to display that in front of a Capitol building. So yeah,
right, like exactly in public lands.
Yeah.
I mean, I could understand like a museum, or if it's like on private property, you know, but on like public land, that's like inappropriate.
Yeah, it's not not just, I wouldn't say inappropriate, but it actually, if it's, you know, being endorsed by, you know, the public or public leaders and public politicians that we pay, I think that's supposed to represent all of us. Those things serve as signals, not just symbols, but they serve as signals to where these people actually want to go and what direction they want to travel. That's why it's important to call these people out and highlight this. And it may not necessarily change their minds. It may not change the minds of the people who kind of, I guess, unconditionally support certain monuments and certain attitudes and certain ideas. It may not change the minds of the people who probably ignorantly worship it, but I guarantee you it's maybe changing the minds of people who are younger and people who are witnessing this and people who are coming up in this environment. I think it's probably most important to kind of expose them to, you know, these kind of counter protest efforts, because they're seeing this too. So there are some you know, kids who are like probably like, I would say way younger than me, like in their teens, who have a grasp on certain information that I didn't have, you know, when I was that age. So I do think it's important for us to kind of engage these situations and these attitudes, so that, like I said before, the younger generation has the right mindset in order for us to progress as a society and as a nation. And also it will definitely influence how we engage with the world if we change how we engage with ourselves domestically.
Yeah. And of course the police were there, and you know, like at the Capitol building, just to make sure we wouldn't like try to like bring down any of the statues. And the only thing is, like, when we were like doing speeches, apparently this one guy like grabbed the bullhorn and he yelled out like, I want to thank all the police that are here. And then like all hell broke loose, where it's like the, you know, like the protesters and the cops were just all clashing on each other. And apparently they arrested cops arrested like two protesters, which were like Antifa protesters, and Antifa was also there. And I caught it on video. It's like, if my YouTube channel is TayRay88, so that's like TayRay88, and I have like 2 videos. Like one is like the video of like the tour around the statues, exposing their history, and then the second one is like where it showed like the clash of like the police and the protesters.
Okay, yeah, I'm about to check that out, man.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what happens at protests, you know, and sadly some, you know, people get arrested, but I'm glad that you're out there fighting the good fight and documenting it too, and appreciate you calling in again, Taylor.
All right. Errol, thank you. I love the show.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
All right.
Take
Bye.
care. All right. Oh, we got 3 calls already?
Yeah.
All right.
Tres.
That's what I like, man. Getting more callers in here. That's what I like. We could, you know, ramp up this audience significantly. Like I said, that can be a more
well, that would probably mean that we would have to
featured. Yeah,
we'll see.
Aspect of the show.
Well, it would probably mean we might have to, you know, depend on the somebody looked like they tried to call and hang up. But you know, depending on how big the audience is, that might influence like the topics we cover and how many we cover and how much time we have to devote to them. Right. I don't know, like it depends. Like if we do get enough viewers, we might have to add a day, you know. So
that's true. But I mean that was always the goal.
The goal anyway,
to ramp up the viewership and ramp up our efforts too. But like I said, we need to get to certain benchmarks really to get that done. But looks like nobody else is calling in, so we're going to head out of here. Appreciate everybody that watched the show, that continuously supports us, and all of our patrons too. On patreon.com it's patreon.com/LTMB. If you would like to support the program, support our efforts to improve the show, because there are definitely certain things that we have to get done to improve the quality, in terms of software, hardware, everything like that. And but everybody that does support us financially, we appreciate you immensely. And the people that aren't supporting us financially but are here to watch us every day, and who comments in the chat section, who calls in, who shares our videos and our posts, we thank you immensely too. You know, we couldn't do it without everybody. This is a whole community effort, and we're gonna continuously try to, you know, get more people in to view what we're talking about and shape the discussion as well. And that's where we go from here. Inject some comedy, inject some energy. Try to, you know. We always, you know, most stories we do always have a certain comedic flair to it, because most of the things we talk about are ridiculous. You know, we're highlighting events or situations that especially should not be.
Officer Snowpuff.
Officer Snowflake.
Boy, he was so sensitive.
A little license. Who told you to bring that weapon out?
Yo, you would have thought she like whipped out a like a samurai sword.
Lucky she didn't get shot, man. Lucky she didn't get shot, man.
You
bring
know,
out that
like,
weapon of mass destruction on me.
Again, if you look at that situation, she was being very forthcoming. She was getting out her belongings.
She was.
And she was
more forthcoming than she had to be.
And did you notice they bleeped it out? Rightfully so.
She provided them her address
and where she lived. She didn't have to do that.
She didn't have to do that at all. Nope. Did not have to do any of that, but she did, because even though she was irritated by this stop, she said, "You know what? Just to clear this up, damn, you know, you're making me late for work. Here it is. Here you go. You know what? Put your stuff down. I'm placing you in handcuffs now. Get in the car." You're exaggerating the situation.
Oh, he's treating her like a. Actually, I was gonna say treating her like a child, but you wouldn't even treat a child like that.
Nah, he's treating her like he has all the power. You better shut up and do as I tell you, and you better do it with a smile too.
He must have there must have been something going on with that dude. Like it was something that was agitating him already. Maybe he had like a hemorrhoid in his butt, something.
Somebody stumped his big toe or something.
Yeah, man, there was something. There was something
lingering.
Yeah.
But see, this is the kind of culture that is pervasive in law enforcement. That's why people have such a problem with law enforcement. It isn't an individual cop. It isn't NFL players having to protest officers on the field. No, we're not talking about all cops. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the culture of it. We're talking about the attitude. We're talking about the attitude of the people that enable this type of behavior. This cop should, or he deserves, some type of penalty. There needs to be some type of repercussion that dissuades this type of behavior, right?
I mean,
that says that you can't do things like this when you're patrolling and you're confronting citizens. You can't do this.
Logically.
You can't act like this. That is not your job description. There has to be something. You know, when a little kid does something wrong and then they do something wrong again and they do something wrong again, if you don't punish them in some way, if you don't try to deter that behavior in some way, what's going to happen? They're going to keep doing it, right? I have to. I got to.
And there might be a point of, I wouldn't say a point of no return, but a point of where return is unlikely, no matter what you try to implement as far as disciplinary actions.
Yes. By you continuously excusing it, by not penalizing the behavior, by not creating some type of discipline. Of course they're going to keep doing it, and that behavior is going to increase too. They're going to take more and more chances. They're going to feel more and more emboldened. It's a problem. It's pervasive in our society. But, you know, protect law enforcement at all costs.
At all costs.
Anyway, again, thank you everybody that has joined us tonight. We will be back on Tuesday. Tuesday after the weekend.
It's the weekend. Baby.
You want to start calling this the Big DM though?
I know.
All right, but yeah, after the weekend, Tuesday. We got 5 days, man. I know you're gonna miss. Y'all gonna miss us, right? You gonna miss us. You know what? We didn't even talk about Catalonia. But you know what? There's not really anything
significant
really to talk about.
It might blow up tomorrow.
Yeah, it might blow up tomorrow
because that's when the Spanish government is supposed to, you know.
Now the Catalan Parliament met today. But what I read was that the Catalan president Puigdemont. Yeah, he was trying to. Something about he was trying to encourage new elections
or something. Yeah, I was like, I got to read into to figure out what that actually means.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Yeah. Well,
but then later on it said that then he was like, no, we're not going to do that. And it seems like they're just like, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we're doing, but we're like, I guess he was trying to do that in an effort to stop Spain, the Spanish government, from implementing direct rule. But when they didn't get word that would have done it, then they were like, okay, we're not gonna do that. So I don't think they know what's going on or what's gonna happen. Like I said, yeah, tomorrow is the linchpin. You know what I mean? Like tomorrow is pretty important. We don't know what's gonna happen. It's been expected that they are going to vote for direct rule, implement Article 155. So I'm certain on Tuesday we're gonna have something to say about it.
Yeah.
So watch out for that. But yeah, everybody have a good weekend. We'll be on Facebook in a few minutes for the after show. So if you want to join us there for a little while, we'll be there. But again, thank you for everybody that watches us and continues to support us, and we will see you next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let the madness begin.